Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to discuss Melt Cosmetics and a palette by the name of the Gemini Palette. So if that's something you're interested in watching, you are in the right place. We are about to get into it.
I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf.
So, Melt Cosmetics. I'm sure everybody has heard of Melt Cosmetics. This company is relatively new. They were founded in 2012 by Laura Arellano and Dana Bomar. Now, both of these girls, Laura and Dana, worked in a Nordstrom's, and they worked at cosmetic counters that happened to be across from each other. So the two of them got to know each other, and they noticed that in the industry at that time, back in 2012, that there was a need for brightly colored matte lipsticks. Now, this was back before liquid lipsticks actually kind of came onto the scene. So we're talking about just a bullet lipstick. And they noticed that the lipsticks that were out there tended to be more of a satin type finish. We all know what lipsticks were back in the day, and that very few formulas were actually matte. And if you did find a matte formula, it tended to be a nude or a neutral, but there wasn't any really punchy colors out there, different and daring colors. And they noticed that that was absent from anywhere in the industry at that time. So these two girls got together, and they didn't get any loans. They didn't go and find investors. They literally figured out how much it would cost for them to make 5 matte lipsticks, bullet lipsticks, 5 of them. And they were just going to sell these 5 lipsticks and start from there. They initially imagined doing things like selling these lipsticks out of the trunk of their car, selling them to girls in line at the grocery store. They were going to do whatever they could to get this little company off the ground. And they got all of their savings together. They found a lab. They came up with a formulation. They sourced ingredients. And that's how Melt Cosmetics was born. They initially came out with 5 matte lipstick shades in the bullet form, and these 5 shades were very bright. Melt Cosmetics was really about doing different lipstick shades that no one had seen before. A matte gray liquid lipstick, a neon purple and neon pink colors. These were very bold, different colors, again, that weren't on the market anywhere. And so what happened was a lot of people jumped on the train of Melt Cosmetics very, very quickly. And they kind of cornered a niche of the community. And they used social media to their advantage. In particularly Instagram helped launch the company to what it is today. Now, today they are actually known for several things. They have a little over 40 products, I think, that they offer to the consumer now. And one of the things they're most famous for is their eyeshadow stacks, which are these very unique kind of eyeshadow palettes that range in anywhere from 4 to 5 pans, and they come in a stack that's magnetized. So you can actually spread them out, you can take them out and use them individually, you can stick them all inside of a palette, however you want to arrange the stack. It's kind of neat because they all just stick together. But they release these in stacks, or you can buy individual pans. They also offer highlighters, they offer blushes, they offer kind of blush highlighter hybrids. They offer, of course, a very broad lipstick range now, because that was really the foundation of the organization, in addition to some lip liner. And their stacks really took off. People really, really like the formula. They're very well known for the quality of their products. Now, previously, all of Melt's eyeshadow stacks usually came in stacks of 4 pans or 5 pans. The 4-pan stacks were usually around $48, the 5-pan stacks around $58, and individual pans typically retailed around $17. Now, these are pretty big pans, however. They're not just your average small eyeshadow pan. They are a really good size pan, and you know, it kind of puts them in that mid to high end when it comes to price point. However, nobody really had a problem paying the price point because the quality of these cosmetics is supposed to be phenomenal. Now, personally, as a makeup artist, I've actually only used their lipsticks. I've never dipped into their eyeshadow formula before. However, I have heard a lot of makeup artists talk about Melt Cosmetics and being a fan of the eyeshadow formula itself. I looked at the stacks. It wasn't something that necessarily really appealed to me. I tend to like a little bit more when it comes to variety and quantity when I purchase an eyeshadow palette or some kind of eyeshadow grouping. So for me, there just wasn't enough variety to get a palette that only had 4 shades in it or 5 shades in it. I like one that, you know, typically has at least 10 or 15 ideally, but it just wasn't something that necessarily spoke to me personally. So I never had an opportunity to really play with the product. Now recently they had a launch of an actual eyeshadow palette, like an actual palette, not a stack. And they promised that it would be the same luxury, very high-end type formulas in this new eyeshadow palette. Now, the name of the eyeshadow palette was called the Gemini Palette, and because this palette was so unique, it sold out fairly quickly. And pretty early on, this became the palette that everybody wished they would have ordered before they sold out. And it really went viral. People everywhere were wishing that they had gotten the Gemini palette. People were asking dupe companies, can you please make a Gemini palette because I didn't get it and it was limited edition and now you can't find it anywhere. There were a lot of people that were very heartbroken over the Gemini palette, and I have to admit that in hindsight, I even found myself looking at this palette and kind of pinching myself for not ordering it when it was first available. So everybody was really, really excited to hear that it was coming back and it was going to be released one more time. Now we're still waiting to see if this is going to only be available until their current inventory is sold out, or because of the success of the palette, if it's something that they're actually going to keep in their lineup. If I had to guess, it's probably going to find a permanent place at Melt Cosmetics because this palette is incredibly popular. Now, the Gemini palette retails for $58, but it's not like a $58 stack. This is actually a palette that has 10 shades in it. Now you're talking a little bit more my speed. In these 10 eyeshadow pans, you also have a mixture of mattes and shimmers. However, only 2 of the pans are actual shimmer or metallic shades. The rest of them are all matte. So again, you're talking my language. But the one thing that sets the Gemini palette apart from every other palette out there in the industry is the shade that they decided to go with. There is one underlining tone with this particular palette, and it happens to be green. And I love the uniqueness of this palette, and I love that they did this because the color theory and the color design that went into the layout of this palette, in my opinion, is absolutely genius. So this is the Gemini palette, you guys. It's actually quite big when you think about other palettes out there in the industry. It's very long, it's very heavy, it feels very luxe. This is actually the outside carton. The actual palette itself looks very much like this. So when you take the palette out, you can see it looks just like the outside carton does. I'll actually give you guys a close-up of the palette itself here so you can see the shades in this palette. So as you can see, guys, the outside artwork on this is absolutely stunning. This green foil that says Gemini on the front, I think, is incredibly beautiful. On the back, you have that same green foil that says Milk Cosmetics. I just love the detailing on this particular palette. I think the roses on the outside are done very well. It does have a magnetic enclosure. As you open it, the palette does have a mirror, and then of course you see these 10 beautiful shades, and obviously you have some soft, warm neutrals all the way to some very cool olive tones. It is a beautiful green and neutral themed palette. These pans are stunning. Now, even though these are not as big a pans as the stacks typically are, these are still pretty big pans in size. Each one of these pans holds 0.66 ounces of product, which is much more than, say, like an Urban Decay, you know, Naked Heat palette, or any of those types of vertical type pan palette designs out there. This one is much bigger than that, and yeah, overall, the actual color layout of this particular palette, I think, in my opinion, is absolutely brilliant. Now, when you look at the color layout itself, you guys, it's not like they just put these colors in here and just kind of stuck them in this palette and released it. Like, there's been a couple of palettes out there, especially like the Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes, where you look at the palette and it doesn't seem like there's very much cohesion when you look at the palette and the way that it was laid out. I love a palette like this that was laid out in a very cohesive and orderly manner that you can look at and see these amazing, unique shades. But it is, even though, so a lot of people would be intimidated by these greens and some of these really, really foiled golds in here. But when you look at this palette, it doesn't necessarily intimidate you at first look because it has a very cohesive layout. I love the color layout. I love the color theory behind this. I genuinely think this is a brilliant design when it comes to a color layout. It may be my favorite of all time. I'm still judging on that one. I want to wait till the end of the year, but this could possibly be my favorite palette of the year. So we're actually going to get into some swatches first because I want you guys to really see what the swatches look like, and then we'll get into performance. Alright guys, so I jacked this swatch video all to pieces. I just messed it all up. So we're actually swatching the first 4 colors here, which are called Luna, Gemini, Lorelei, and Polka Dot. Unfortunately, I didn't realize I was doing that off camera. And so in an attempt to show you the swatches here, I realized it. And then when I went back to swatching, I completely skipped Cupcake and just went straight to Bonnie. But I'll show you Cupcake in a minute. So Bonnie is the black, and oh my gosh, look at that black. It is stunning, you guys. It is one of the most opaque blacks I have ever seen. Next we have Leo, and then we have Goals, which is this really pretty shimmery green color that I absolutely love. Then we have Fire OG, which is kind of a blend between a yellow and a green. And then we have Mochi, which is like this mustardy yellow color that is really, really pretty. So here is all of them, minus Cupcake. They are beautiful. I still can't get over Bonnie. That black in the middle is... It's so opaque. It's crazy. It's crazy. I also love Gemini, which is that pretty peach sparkle, and Lorelei, which is that orange color. I think that's beautiful. But even Luna, which is just that light brown color, is gorgeous. I mean, they're all beautiful. They swatch beautiful. They're so opaque and rich in pigment. It's unbelievable. So here's Cupcake. I figured she deserved her own little time in the spotlight. I'm so sorry I forgot and left her out. Here is a whole nother swatch round where I included her and redid them all because I felt bad that I left her out. So here she is in the lineup with all of her shadow friends. So yeah, this is the complete lineup with all of them together. And then, of course, this is the one where she's missing. So I'm sorry about that, guys. I need to do better. So from a swatch perspective, these colors are stunning, you guys. Even the metallics that are in here that are the two kind of textured shades in here, they're not those typical like ABH metallic texture where you press it and it kind of crumbles everywhere. Like the Huda Beauty textured eyeshadows that are very putty-like and they're very fragile, and as you touch them or dip in with a brush, it tends to make a mess. These aren't like that. I love the texture of these shimmers. I love the way that they look on the eye. Overall, I think that this palette is amazing. So I want you guys to see application and how these actually perform on the eye as well. So let's get into some application here. Alright guys, so we are going to start by putting just a little bit of Luna right through here. And I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between Luna and Lorelei. So we're going to put a little bit of Lorelei here. And then we're going to go in with Fire OG right in this outside corner, just to add a little depth there to that outside corner. I really do love the way that these shadows blend. I think they blend out beautifully, and they were a pleasure to work with. They'd make a really good gradient. Here I'm going in with a little bit of Leo, which is just a little tiny bit deeper than Fire OG, and a little bit of a different tone, and again, just darkening up that outside crease. And because my crease is so deep set, I really have to focus on getting it in the crease and then kind of buffing it out. So you see me reach for a clean blending brush a lot just to kind of buff out edges and make things look nice and blended. And then I'll go back in and continue to build the color in the crease. But with the lighter shades down prior to the darker shades, it really does just make a really pretty kind of gradient look. And I love the way that they blend. And with these particular formulas, I've noticed that you don't really have to work in light layers. You can go in with a decent amount of pigment and it still blends out beautifully. So we're just putting some dark Leo right on the outside of the lid and connecting that to the crease and just working on that outer V a little bit. And I think we'll probably leave it at that on that eye. Now we're going to put some concealer here. I'm actually using the P. Louise primer, but you can use concealer here. And just on the first half of the lid. And then we're going to put that really pretty Goals color, which is just a very shimmery green. I think it's beautiful. It has a beautiful finish. I don't have to wet this brush. This is it just going on completely dry. And it does kind of kick it up a notch when you wet it, but it's just not necessary, I don't think. Now I'm taking Bonnie, which is that really pretty opaque black, and I'm just putting it right in the lash line, just like a liner, just to get a nice liner going there, because I love how opaque it is, and I love how deep and black and rich this color is. I love using it as a liner. So we're going in with Mochi again first, and then we'll go in with a little bit of Lorelei and just kind of get all of that warmed up there. And then we'll go in with Fire OG again, and then we'll ultimately end up with Leo again, just to darken up that outer V. Same steps, just repeat it again on this side. But again, the blend is really, really pretty, and it's kind of effortless. It really just doesn't take a ton of work just really work those colors into the crease, and they really just kind of build their own gradient, and I think it looks super pretty. I know green is not a favorite color of a lot of people, but me personally, I just think that the tones in this particular palette, these particular choices of green, I think are pretty. All right, so we're just darkening that outer V with Leo and getting that outer V to pull together, and then we're going to go in again with a concealer, or this is the P. Louise primer, and then we're going to go back in with the primer just a little bit right up against the edge. And I like to actually, and you didn't see this step on the other eye, but I'll show you here. I actually like to take a sponge after I've gone over it with a concealer or a primer, and just take a sponge and just press it in. It really does a good job as far as getting rid of a lot of your texture. If you have crepey lids, just take a sponge and press that concealer in, and it'll smooth things out a lot. Especially if you're working with shimmers, they tend to accentuate texture, so that's a good way to minimize texture. So we're just blending in the shimmer and the mattes here so that it's not such a hard break. And then we're going in with Bonnie again, which is that black color, and just putting it in our lashes, in the lash line, and using it like a liner. It is, I just can't get over the black in this palette, you guys. I really can't. I think it's going to end up being like one of my favorites. All right, so we have a finished look, kind of. We do have to put some makeup on, so I guess we'll put some makeup on. That was fast. Now we'll finish I do like this highlighter. That's the Marc Jacobs highlighter. I love it. It's beautiful. All right, so then we're going to put a very tiny, tiny bit of that black on the lower lash line. Because it's so opaque, you got to really be careful and just use a little teeny tiny bit, or it can spiral out of control pretty fast because it is very pigmented. And then I just go over it with a little bit of green and kind of mix those two together. Here you'll see going over it with some of that green, just to bring a little bit of that green tone to it. And then I go in with that Mochi, the lighter color, and just buff it together and get it just a little bit smoky down there. And I like pulling that yellow tone down to the lower lash line. I think it helps to pull the look together. The colors just complement each other so well. I really, really like it. Just keep blending, just keep blending. I am going to use that highlighter that you guys saw me use, or that I pointed out to you on my cheekbones. It's the new Marc Jacobs highlighter. You guys, this makes the most beautiful inner corner highlight. Look at that. Oh, it's stunning. This highlighter is like my absolute favorite. And for an inner corner highlight, it just doesn't get any more beautiful than that. I think it is the perfect inner corner highlighter. All right, so let's get some lashes on, and this will be our final look, you guys. Lashes on, and we are done. I think it turned out really pretty. So you see I have a lot of texture on my eyes, but this is one of those shimmers that doesn't make it so horrible. All right, guys, so here is the final look after using the palette. And I have to say that I really enjoy using the palette. It blends out beautifully. I love the look that I have, and I'm not typically a green shadow wearer, but it is so user-friendly, and I really like it, you guys. I really like it. So let me know what you think about the look that we created. All right, so enjoy the rest of the video. So overall, you guys, there are so many different things you can do with this particular palette. You can genuinely just do a beautiful brown kind of smoky eye. You can do a more olive type toned look, which would be great for fall. These are amazing fall colors. You can blend the two together. If you purchase this palette, you can rest assured that there are colors in here that you currently do not have in your collection. And honestly, as easy as this pigment works on the eye, it really is quite stunning. When you tap into a pan twice, you put it on, and the pigment shows up so bright and so vibrant, and they blend so easily. I am kind of kicking myself for never having tried Melt Cosmetics before, and I definitely intend on getting some more pieces from this particular brand. I was genuinely blown away by this palette. I was really expecting to get up here and say that this was much ado about nothing, and that this palette was hyped up because it's a green palette, and that's about it. I really was like, what is all the fuss about? Which is one of the reasons why I purchased it. Number one, the colors were intriguing, but I was very hesitant about whether or not they were going to be able to pull those colors off, number one, and have it be a good formula. But number two, that it would be something that would be that mass marketable out there. I didn't think a lot of people would gravitate to a green palette, but it's more than just a green palette. There are so many neutrals that are in here, and the formula itself is beautiful. It really is a palette that had the potential to be maybe a more overwhelming, complicated palette to look at that could have intimidated a lot of people, but it ended up, because of the color layout and because of the way they organized the palette, being very marketable and looking very user-friendly and being a palette that really inspired people. They pulled it off with this particular palette, you guys, and it's a really beautiful creation, and mad respect to those two girls for this design. I absolutely love it. The palette itself is 100% Erica approved. I really am curious as to whether or not you guys have played with this palette. Do you have this palette? Do you plan on getting this palette? I definitely want to know in the comments down below if you guys have delved into the Gemini palette at all, or if you plan on getting it. Don't forget, we also have a contest going on for the Jaclyn Hill Master Eye collection. That's going to run between now and the end of this month, which is pretty much here. So this coming up week, we will have a video that is going to announce the winner of the contest. I'm so excited. It will be a live stream on YouTube. I will announce the day and the time on my Instagram, so make sure you're following me at Erica Approved. That's where you will find out the day and time of the YouTube live stream. Don't worry if you missed the live stream. I always leave it posted up on my channel so you can go back and watch it and see if you were selected as the winner. If you are selected as the winner, you'll have 24 hours to get in touch with me or to respond to me, because I'll, of course, be reaching out to you, and then I'll be sending you the Jaclyn Hill and Morphe Master Eye Collection. I'm so excited about this contest. So the 3 ways that you have to enter, for those of you that don't know, you have to be a subscriber. Go back to the Natasha Denona video and make sure that you like that video and put down in the comments a way that you want me to get in touch with you in the event that you are the winner. And for a bonus entry, make sure you follow me on Instagram, or if you're already following me on Instagram, just make sure you send me a comment that says, hey, this is my bonus entry, and I'll put you in there twice. So that is the contest. This was the Gemini palette. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I am so excited about playing with this palette. It has been a really long time since I've had a palette that really excited me and genuinely inspired me to dig in and get really super creative. This palette has done that for me. I look forward to exploring the brand a little bit more and learning a little bit more about Melt Cosmetics. So you guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. As always, I hope everybody is very happy and very healthy, and I will see you guys in the next video.